How y'all doing, Team Up? And welcome back to another episode of Hard News with Murdock. Now, I'm not going to hide the ball here on my feelings about certain individuals when I report on them. I believe in total transparency. But it shouldn't come as a surprise anyway. If you watch the channel, you will know that I'm not really a fan of Kamala Harris, greatly based on her past record as Attorney General of Los Angeles. And I was actually working on a report for her the same way I worked on a report for Joe Biden, and I was holding off trying to do as much research as I can on it. But then we had this interesting exchange at round 2 of the Democratic primary 2020 debates. And check this out for yourself between Kamala Harris and Tulsi Gabbard. Take a look.
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting Black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris, your response.
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people, which became a national model for the work that needs to be done. And I am proud of that work. And I am proud of making a decision to not just give fancy speeches or be in a legislative body and give speeches on the floor, but actually doing the work of being in the position to use the power that I had to reform a system that is badly in need of reform. That is why we created initiatives that were about reentering former offenders and getting them counseling. It is why, and because I know that criminal justice system is so broken, that I am an advocate for what we need to do to not only decriminalize, but legalize marijuana in the United States.
I want to bring Congresswoman Gabbard back in. Your response.
The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you were in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
Okay, Tulsi, that's how you dunk on somebody. More of that, please. I mean, Tulsi did such a good job of putting her on defense that she didn't even try and back up her past record. She just went on to try and talk about her usual talking points, but then Gabbard went back in, pulled her back, and was like, no, answer for this stuff, and she still had no answer. I mean, even Joe Biden was defending himself and his stance of the crime bill up until about 3 weeks ago when he figured out that that's not going to play well this day and age. Now, I'm sure the Kamala Harris Defense Force will want to jump out there for her and be like, hey, Tulsi don't know what she's talking about. But you can read this Los Angeles Times article from August of 2012, which says, and I quote, in the case of Daniel Lawson, 2 judges concluded that jurors who convicted Lawson would have never found him guilty had they heard from additional witnesses who saw a different man with the knife. But 2 years later, after he was supposed to be released, Lawson remains behind bars while the California Attorney General appeals the decision. The state's main argument? He did not file his legal paperwork seeking release on time. California Attorney General Kamala Harris, whose office maintains that evidence still points to Lawson's guilt, accused him and his attorneys of filing a petition seeking his release more than 6 years after he was legally required to do so. Yeah, y'all heard that right, people. Kamala Harris left the man behind bars 2 years after a judge demanded his release over paperwork. And that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to dealing with Kamala Harris. Now, once again, let me be clear. I'm not saying don't vote for her under any circumstances, because anybody would be better than the orange savage in chief that we currently have in the Oval Office right now. But when it comes to the 2020 Democratic primaries, she don't have my vote, okay? And with that being said, that's all I have. Like and subscribe if you like what you see. Later.